college. It's given him a head start on some of us. He's focused on the substantial decrease of federal spending, and can we give him an extra round of applause for working to abolish the federal income tax? Ladies and gentlemen,
How many of you guys are excited about this election season? Man, this is a good opportunity for us, right? A lot of good races for us. I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity. Thank you for putting this together, getting us all together tonight. I am the Libertarian candidate for U.S. House District 1. I'm running head-to-head against a Republican who is hiding out, and he was running because he's one of those who doesn't stir up any water, but he doesn't really stand for anything either. And hopefully we can show the voters that there's somebody who's clearly going to go to Washington to stand for something that matters to people. And I want to go to Washington to stand for liberty or stand for freedom. So let me ask you guys a question. When you get up in the morning, what's the first thing you think of? Do you get up and wonder, have I paid my fair share of taxes this week? Do you get up and wonder, how can I get the government more involved in my private life? Maybe some of you are those types that are thinking, you know, maybe I can get the government more involved in my business, in my workplace. Now, if you're like me and like most of us, we get up in the morning, we hope our job's still there. We hope we can get the bills paid. We hope that we can keep a roof over our heads. We can keep clothes on our backs. We can keep food on the table. We hope that when we get up in a new day, our government hasn't found some way to come into our lives and take those things away from us, take those opportunities away from us. So what we need are candidates, libertarian candidates, who are strong on what libertarianism is about. Candidates like me are going to go to Washington and we're going to stand on the floor of Congress and say defiantly that taxation is theft and that it is time. That it is time, actually it's past time, for Congress to abolish the IRS, abolish the income tax, and let people keep what they've earned. It's their money, they worked for it, they deserve it. Not Congress, not special interests. They also need people that are not afraid to also talk about how inflation is also theft. That are ready to point the finger at the Federal Reserve Bank and say it's time for that to end as well. It's time to restore our money to what it should be. End the manipulation that's going on with our currency that's robbing us of money every week. Every time you get paid, inflation takes more of your money away. If you put money back, any money you can put back for savings, its value drops every day because of inflation. The Fed has to end. And you need people going to Washington that are going to fight against that. You also need people that are unafraid to say that corporate cronyism has to end. This relationship between Congress and big corporations, where Congress represents corporations rather than representing the people and representing liberty, that relationship has to stop. And we need people in Congress that are going to fight and stand for the people, for their liberty, for their freedom, for their rights. That's why my campaign doesn't take donations from corporations. I don't have an interest in it. I would rather pay for my campaign out of my own pocket than take money from a corporation that is going to try to find a way to use that money to run my life or ruin the way I would vote for people. We also need people who are not afraid to say, you know what, I'm already against the next war. I'm already done with the war in Syria, the proxy war between us and Russia in Syria that is ruining lives, it's destroyed a nation, it's killing children, and it's time for that war to stop. Hey, I got an idea. Let's cut the budget when we get there, why don't we? We can cut military spending by just getting our nose out of everybody else in the world's business. Bring our troops home. Bring our people. We also need people that aren't afraid to stand in Congress and say, you know what? Drug addiction is not a criminal behavior that requires prison. It's a national medical crisis, and we need to stop treating drug abuse, whatever you want to call it, addiction, as though it is a criminal behavior. We need to legalize marijuana. We need to not only legalize it just for medicinal use, you know, all the bills here in Arkansas are medicinal use. It doesn't need to be just legalized for medicinal use. It needs to be legalized for recreational use because, by golly, it's not the government's business if you want to smoke dope. All right? think about it, if we start making hemp products here in America off legalized cannabis, paper, plastics, clothing, we can help the economy, we can create jobs, stimulate job growth. We don't have to settle for a 2% or whatever they call it, national annual job growth, man. Let's boost that up. Let's create new industries in America. But we create them when we open the free market up. When we get the corporate cronyism out of Washington, we open the free market up, when we let the businesses rise up that are going to rise up, and we tell Congress that Congress no longer decides who wins and who loses in America. Let the free market decide. Let innovation decide. Let free people with great ideas, with entrepreneurship, with hard work, let them decide their fate. Let them decide if they're going to succeed or they're going to fail. It's not Congress's job to decide. We also need somebody that will go to Congress and say criminal justice reform has to happen. We've got to have police departments that are accountable to the people. Police departments that are engaged in the community, that are working among the people they police. Finally, we need people that are unafraid to fight for the Second Amendment, that are unafraid to fight for your First Amendment, that are unafraid to fight for you to say or do whatever you want to do, just as long as you're not hurting somebody else. It's what that whole non-aggression principle is about. I think Congress needs a kick in the butt with the non-aggression principle. They need to be out of your business and out of your life. And I promise you, if you elect me to Congress, you're going to have that. You're going to have somebody that's going to offer a clear difference. Because my difference is the government is way too involved in our lives, whether it's our private lives or our business lives, and the government needs to see its way out. You're going to see a clear direction, and that direction is liberty. That direction is freedom. That direction is the individual should have the power over his or her own life to do with their body whatever they choose to do, so long as they're not hurting or harming someone else in their property.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it leaves a clear decision. Vote for Mark West in 2016. If you're in Arkansas District 1, I'd love your vote. Cabot's near here. I don't know how many of you are here from Cabot, but if you wonder where it's at, just ask me. I've got some literature in the back. Website's markwestforcongress.com. Thank you, guys.
That's what I was going to say. Hey, thank you, Mark. And thank you for showing what a wonderful crowd we have tonight. That we can get an applause line here just for saying taxation is theft. You guys are easy. I like that. All right. Our next speaker has, I guess, really a magical trifecta of statist accomplishments. He's been a constable, a coroner, and a mayor. As a background for that, he was in the Navy from 1968 to 72. He's been involved in his community as the school district and school suspension manager and as a fellowship leader at the United Church of Peace in Little Rock. He is currently running for United States Senate. Please give it up for Frank Gilbert. Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, you're right. I'll mess that up for sure.
Put all the speakers on the wrong side of the keyboard.
Good man. It is great to see everybody here tonight. And before we do anything else, let's give Adam and his assistant, whose name I forgot, Dan, a round of applause. You've done good work here tonight, and we sincerely appreciate it. By show of hands, how many of you are excited to send Senator Bozeman back to D.C.? And by show of hands, how many of you believe that Connor Eldridge is the solution to the problem and we need to send him to D.C.? With that, I'm just going to talk to you as a libertarian to other libertarians. I'm not going to campaign tonight because I feel confident that I've got every vote in this room. If I don't deserve it. I first heard of the Libertarian Party in 1980. I was a Goldwater Republican, content where I was, and when Brother Clark started running 2-minute ads on the television, it caught my eye. There was something about him that reminded me of Barry Goldwater 16 years before. But I couldn't get that. I was a Baptist. And I believe that the government should do good works and redeem people's souls and bodies and minds. And so I voted for a Republican that year. It's the last Republican I voted for president since. because by 1982, I understood that the Republican Party had lied. I was fortunate to meet a couple of libertarians in Fort Smith, Arkansas, where I was at the time, Alan Lindsay and Paul Jacob, and they were patient with Baptist, Republican, and they helped me understand that it wasn't the libertarians who were confused, as I thought, it was me. I had half of the message, I had half of the understanding. And through their tutelage and their patience, I finally came to understand that the Libertarian Party was the solution to our problems. Now, I'm embarrassed because it wasn't a quick conversion. For in the 1984 National Convention, I spoke on the floor in favor of the truancy laws and things like that because I had 3 sons, teenagers, preteens, and they scared me. And I still wanted the government to help me out with those boys. There were other things that came to me slowly. And when I look back on that, I'm reminded of today. Because the same struggle went on in my mind and in the Libertarian Party in 1982 is going on today. We got purists, we got pragmatists, and the two are always at each other's throat. Folks, we eat our own young. If Alan Lindsay and if Paul Jacob had been as patient as some of the folks that I see on Liberty Hangout and Libertarian Party USA, I would never have been a libertarian. And if we don't show the patience, the perseverance, and the acceptance of each other, we will never have a real impact on state or national politics. It just can't happen as long as we're at war with ourselves. And here's the solution for me. I'm a purist. Folks, I believe that taxation is theft.
There we go.
I believe in every plank of the libertarian platform, save one, I'm still pro-life. But at the same time, I'm a pragmatist. You can be both. There's no problem in being both. In fact, if we're going to succeed, we have to be both. From a basis of purist, anarchist beliefs, I will pragmatically go forth, and as the mayor of Tulsa, Arkansas, I will sign condemnation notices that take property from 14 of my neighbors. I did it. It's as unlibertarian, it is as unchristian, it is as unacceptable as anything a person can do to another. But the folks who voted for me for mayor hired me to do a job. And anybody who wants to criticize me for that and other actions that I took as coroner and constable is free to do so. My conscience is clear. And if your conscience is clear tonight, something tells me that it's because you are both a pragmatist and a purist. And if you're not, see me after the meeting.
So 1982 started your awakening. I think, I wouldn't like to admit it, but that's how long I've been on this planet. and on that note, I'll just say that there are a lot of people who have come and gone. I've been an activist, I can say, I just turned 29 for the 6th time.
Amen.
I'm 34 and I haven't accepted it yet. And I've been an activist for almost a decade now. I've seen a lot of people come and go in this movement, you know, in just this relative time. And people ask, you know, for me, what keeps me going? And I assume that there's some of this for you as well, having been involved as long as you have, that when people come to you and say, thank you, you changed my worldview, you changed my perspective, you empowered me to be more free, you helped me live better as a result of your activism. That's the kind of stuff that keeps me going. I get emails now, probably at least one a day, from someone saying, Thank you, because of your work, I did not enlist in the United States military. Thank you, because of your work, I did not become a cop. Thank you, because of your work, I'm living differently. I have a different job, I have a different career, I have a different outlook, I have better relationships with the people around me. I'm happier and more free. So if you know someone who's had that role in your life, whether it's myself, I would hope, or Frank, or anyone else, you know, an author, an activist, a YouTuber, whoever it may be, send them an email, send them a tweet, reach out, because that kind of stuff, that's the fuel for the fire of activism. And I really appreciate that there are people who have been able to stick with it as long as you have. And I'm so glad that you brought up the issue of principle versus pragmatism, because it really is a distraction, and it really, for someone to say, well, I'm being practical, stop being so principled, is someone who wants you to compromise your principles. And the point of principles is that they are pragmatic. When you don't do things that are principled, or when you do things that are in violation of your principles, unpragmatic, bad things happen. How about that? So thank you for raising that, especially within the context of where the movement is today and where the party is. I really appreciate that. Our next speaker is Glenn Schwartz. He's a candidate for State House District 29. In the past, he's been a writer for Little Rock Free Press, a teacher, and a business owner of Earthwise Recycle Center. Currently, he's an activist promoting the legalization of marijuana, and a very patient man, also known as a professional petitioner. Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn Schwartz.
Southwest Little Rock, so it's probably not a one of you here from my district, but this card has got all the local candidates in it, so I'm going to pass around a little batch of these cards here. I'm in District 29. I've been at this for quite a while. This is my 10th run for public office. They call that a perennial candidate. Well, I'm proud to be a perennial candidate. You know, it's that's what the Libertarian Party is going to keep people from running unopposed. That really don't, you know, they should all have some kind of opposition when it comes to the general election. And the Libertarian Party has made it easy to do that. Now, if you look at that card, you see they're starting to give us some support for running for local office. You know, I met Frank Gilbert. I was in a Republican. I think my first run for office was as a Republican. And Frank had this scheme to become the corner of Grant County, and it worked. He got elected, first Republican elected to office in Grant County since the Civil War or something. But, and you know, I was prepared to vote. You know, we can always vote in the Republican primaries, but you know, I feel like this year we're all Iolanian hostages. Because, you know, my guy was Rand Paul. I was all set to cast my vote for Rand Paul. We had Mike Huckabee, the former governor of the state. He was on the ballot. These guys paid $25,000 apiece to be on the ballot, the Republican ballot. And then they had that Iowa caucus. It was almost like they missed a blizzard by like 12 hours. So a few hundred people went out there and caucused in Iowa, and like 3 or 4 candidates dropped out right after that. And I cast my vote for Rand Paul, but it was, I don't think it counted at that point. And that's where the Libertarian Party is coming in, because that system is broken, you know. And we still have the convention and elect our local candidates and our state and federal candidates. Now I'll go down here and tell you about something about my district. I'm running against Frederick Love. He's a 3-term Democrat. And I do kind of admire my opponent because he ran for office 5 times before he finally got elected. So I got a beat on that with my 10th run for office, and we'll take him on to that. I've also got the best running mate that I could possibly imagine, the best candidate for the job of president. So my job is to try to deliver my district to Gary Johnson and Mr. Wells, and maybe be the first Libertarian actually elected to a state. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'll be the first Libertarian elected to a state legislature. There is already a couple, okay? Well, good, I learned something. You may know me as a marijuana activist. I've been doing a lot of petitioning, and I wrote a decriminalization bill about 20 years ago when my representative asked me to, well, I want to look at the legislation. So I went down to the law library for a week and patterned something after the Oregon decriminalization bill. So it actually exists. Gave it to her, and she promptly, it was just a stalling tactic, So I've actually given it to Fred Love, my opponent. I said, "Look, you introduce this for me." No, it has no chance of passing. Therefore, he won't even introduce it. So I am happy to stand up to the Libertarian and run against my opponent and do the best I can to win the election or bring in the district for Gary Johnson. And my other big issue at the state level is to eliminate the state income tax. That's, I think we can do that. If we get some kind of marijuana, the hemp and marijuana industry can probably generate enough income that we could, answer the argument it will be replaced by the income from these. So, happy to be campaigning down here for Gary Johnson. I'm going to put this, most people have clean bumpers these days, but that's a nice little bumper sticker. The graphics look good. I passed the cards around. We're getting some support. Us local candidates are getting some support from the Pulaski County Libertarian Party, which is the strongest in the state. And I am just happy to be running for my 10th run for office as a Libertarian in District 29 in Southwest Little Rock. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Mike Vaughn, the